of no regret. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to another edition of the AAOBA webinar series. And we are gathered once again here in Accra Academy in the name of Accra Academy, bound by one love, which is the love for our alma mater, the Accra Academy. Tonight is another great night. We're going to be learning about leading knowledge in the VUCA world. To do the opening remarks, I'm pleased to welcome the Honorable Secretary for the AAOBA Association, Mr. Abe Ashon. Mr. Abe Ashon, please, over to you. You may need to unmute your mic, sir. Can Abe Ashon hear me? Okay. So in the absence of the Honorable Secretary, may we have any AAOBA executive who is currently online to do the honors and give us the opening remarks, and then we can zoom straight into the discussion. All right. Well, I want to believe that it's either a technical hitch or we just didn't have any of the executives show up. Would someone please put up their hand if they can hear me clearly and loud? I just want to be sure that you can all hear me.
Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
All right. So
right, I'm here. I'm one of the council members. If you would like me to.
Yes, please. I mean, we'll appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, I would like to welcome everyone to this very wonderful webinar that has been arranged to educate us. I think that we need more of such events to kind of educate ourselves and to basically strengthen our fraternity as AAOBA. All right. So we'd like to thank our Honorable Dr. Daniel Addo for taking his time to come and educate us. Hopefully, everybody will participate and invite more people to come and join us. On behalf of the Executive Council, I would like to say thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, and we really appreciate that opening remarks. My name is Yao Kuonu. I am president for B99, and I will be the moderator for tonight. We are very honored to have one of our own, who is blazing the trail in industry, who's going to lead us in this session. Now, just as a background, Bleoobi Daniel Addo, doctor, is currently the Director of Finance at the National Petroleum Authority. He's also the financial advisor to the President of Vanguard Assurance Limited and consultant in finance, Sadacon Limited. He was also the Managing Director of Ningo Salt Limited between January 2008 and December 2009. He is a financial economist, chartered global management accountant, investment and financial analyst, and a chartered economist. He's also a project management professional, governing council member, and strategic and special project director of the Institute of Project Management Professionals. He is quite credible, and the beautiful thing about it is that he is a Bleoobi. So we are honored, we are proud of our own Dr. Daniel Addo. Tonight, Dr. Addo is going to be speaking to us about leading knowledge in VUCA world. I remember when we put out this notice, we got a lot of questions. What is VUCA? I won't try to do the speaker's job for him, So it's my honor, ladies and gentlemen. And I say ladies and gentlemen because remember, Accra Academy, we have ladies as well. So I want to welcome all of you once again. And it's my honor to hand over now to Dr. Daniel Addo, who will take us through the session. And after that, we can have the interactive session, the Q&A. Dr. Addo, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good.
Yeah, you are loud and clear.
Great. I think that I would also commend the group for hosting these lectures. I think it is source sharing knowledge, which is very apt topic that we'll discuss. When I was called to deliver this lecture, I was wondering what to put up. And I thought that leading knowledge was important for the group because without knowledge, we perish. I know that this topic has ignited a lot of debates on various platforms, and I hope that by the end of this lecture, we'll be rest assured that it wasn't anything frightening. I'd like to share my slides with you. If you bear with me, I'm trying to connect. And as we see, the topic is clear. Let me just go into a bit of outline and what to expect. By way of introduction, I had indicated that the topic is apt for the group because we search for knowledge. I'm looking at the audience that I have. I believe that most of you are in the millennials. We would talk about those things. I also find it relevant to connect with the group and see some of the top comments that came by on various platforms. I will talk about what I call generational cohorts, where I will draw the differences in how the generations appreciate knowledge. And I will talk about the VUCA world, which is a world that we live in at the moment, and for which most of the participants today belong. So I'll discuss also how we can share knowledge and lead knowledge in the VUCA world. I don't mean to be very academic, but we'll look at some elements of knowledge and also leading knowledge in the multi-generational situation. I will look at how we respond to the VUCA world by some of the things that we'll do in order to succeed. So by way of introduction, I want to indicate that it's a very useful ingredient for human development. Sharing knowledge is a creation of knowledge, idea generation, and problem solving. The essence of relating the topic to VUCA is to typify the current environment that we are in. At the same time, it is also a recognition of the generational differences that we have. So, to put the topic in the context, I presume that knowledge sharing will be assessed in the context of VUCA. That is the characteristics of the generational cohort of the millennials. And for most of you, when we go into the generational cohorts, you will see that you indeed belong to that generation. Now, suffice to say that I picked up this comment from one of the platforms. And, for my generation, you can see that I'm a bit shocked about the comments. So the Bleoobi said the poster be fucking. I don't understand what fucking is. Many people wouldn't know what VUCA is. I didn't know till you send this text. For communication, but VUCA. Then bam, you have lost some of your largest audience. A title like Leading Knowledge in the World of Uncertainty would have been much better. Volatility, ambiguity, etc. are generally associated with uncertainty. That's a view of Bleoobi. Another Bleoobi commented, please, what is VUCA? Sounds vulgar. I think I know who sent this message. Suffice at this stage that from the angle from which they come,
Love you, Daniel. Please, you may need to unmute yourself, please.
I was saying that from the comments that I have just posted, you can see that there is some disconnect with the topic with some generation. And that makes it very interesting then to connect this topic to the generations. I am not too sure how many people we have across the generations. If Abe Ashon was there, is Abe Ashon there? Yeah, do you identify Abe Ashon?
No, unfortunately, I don't think he's with us today.
Okay. He would have just give us an example of one generation that is important in this case. But let me just go on to look at the generation. Now, do I have a problem? My slide is not moving.
Please click on it before you try to move it.
Wow. So I'd like to define the generational cohorts, and cohort is just a group of people or certain items. I submit that generational cohort is used to describe individuals who are born at approximately the same time and share similar experiences. Now, each generation group is influenced by a variety of factors: parents, peer, media, and social events that create common value system, causing a distinction from that group from the other. I propose this discussion on the generations to be very interactive. So I would very soon some comments from members who belong to cohorts to talk about certain attributes that they observe. We have 5 generations here: the silent, who were born between 1928 to 45. I doubt if there is any person in this group like that. Then we have the baby boomers, 1946 to 64. I was expecting Abiashon to be in that group. Possibly I could be in that group. We have Generation X, born from 1965 to 80. The millennials, from 1981 to 1996. There's this current group called Generation Z, and the current group. I would not focus on them because they will not feature in this group. The question is, what are the characteristics and attributes of these? So I've tried to indicate that Abifa Buzia, Liman, General Ankara, and Kwame Nkrumah will be in the traditionalists, who are the silent group. The baby boomers, we can have JJ Rollins, Mensa Otabil, and of course our finance minister as one being in that section. In X, we have examples of Abedipede, Haruna Idrisu. I believe we know these people. And of course, the millennials, we have Sarkodie, the singer, Jack, and Jordan Ayew. If we know these people, we can see the attributes that they have. There are influences during the period for which these persons were born. The silent group would have experienced hard times while growing up, was followed by times of prosperity. I believe that the World War happened in that. The baby boomers are the post-war babies, up to the radicals of the 1970s. I'm going to talk about radicals of 1970s. Probably we can pinpoint JJ Rollins in this era. We have Abedipede and some of us whose perceptions were shaped growing up, having to take care of themselves early and watching politicians lie, and their parents got laid off. Certain things might have happened to affect them. Then, of course, we have the millennials, who are the focus of this group, and they are the digital people. They are technology savvy, and they hope to be the next great generations. They grew up more sheltered than any other generation as parents strive to protect them from the evils of the world. They're the first generation of children with shuttles. Yeah, if we can open up the discussion and see what people think or members in this group think of the generations that we are talking about, and if they can recollect some influences and what attributes they have. It will be interesting for us to hear the views of the participants.
All right. So, well, the chat application is open. Please share your views on these generations. As Doctor continues the presentation, but if you want to speak, please put up your hand, and we will call you accordingly to make a comment.
So I'll go on. Yeah, do you have anybody on the floor? Manuel? Okay. So,
Doc, please continue. I'm managing it from here. I've asked people to put up their hands so we can call them.
okay. So these various groups will also have various core values. And if I would dwell much more on the millennials, they are interested in achievements, they're interested in diversity, they're interested in extreme fun. In fact, they must have fun. They are highly tolerant, they said. We need to see that empirically. They are more sociable because they are open to a lot of things that the generation before do not have. In fact, they are the most educated generation. I mean, today, if you look at your level, the ages that people are attaining masters and doctorates is faster than in our time. Probably in our time, you must have worked for 10 to 15 years before you begin to think of having masters. Today, after first degree, they move on to second degree and they have their doctorates. So they are very, very educated. Now this environment that they are in and what is shaping their core values happens to be the influences of the times that we are in, particularly relating it to the VUCA. As of now, I haven't mentioned what VUCA is, but we'll get there very soon. Yeah, I'm still having challenge in moving the slide. Have you done something to it?
No, not at all. You may just need to click on it.
Okay.
And, yeah, reshare.
So I go in and come again. Maybe it's time bound. So if you look at the millennials, we're saying that they are global and networked. They believe in their contribution that they give to society. And usually, they're effective at the workplaces, but like to close on time because they are very much interested in balancing their life, work-life activities. There are a lot of attributes that we can talk about, but that will take us so much time. With this background, I will move on to the VUCA world. And I want to submit that we are all living in the VUCA world. VUCA simply is an acronym for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So we are all part of the VUCA world. For those of you who were worried about VUCA and for who it sounded VUCA, it's simply volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And that is the characteristics of the world as we live in today. So I have just introduced VUCA, and VUCA emerged from the American military. And it is a response to, after the Cold War, a military strategy that was adopted in which they found the world uncertain and how they react to military. After the Cold War, we didn't have real enemies. So they cornered the VUCA as an acronym to help them strategize on what they want to achieve militarily. However, this has been used now in leadership and in management and in business. So let's look at volatility. And volatility refers to speed, volume, nature, and magnitude of phenomena. Usually for those of us who are associated with stocks, we notice volatility in those environments. And for economists, we have demand variables, the market fluctuations, and the changing nature of it. We usually refer to that as volatility. Uncertainty occurs when there are no concrete trends or patterns, making it difficult to establish next happening. And today, in this pandemic time, you can realize that we're really, really in the VUCA world. The whole environment is associated with inability to understand what is going on despite the amount of data that we have. Can you imagine the kind of information that we have about COVID-19, and yet we are not certain about what it would be? Complexity, the third, describes the amount of different states of system that can get into a point at a point in time. And the more states a system can get into, the higher its complexity. We are in very complex time because we can't determine the issues with certainty. And we do have ambiguity that identifies a lack of knowledge of cause and effects where there is no precedent on which to base prediction. We've seen some viruses in the past, but COVID-19 is entirely different and is turning out to present some ambiguity to the whole world. So that is VUCA. Now, having looked at that, it is important to now situate how we place up knowledge in this changing environment. And I just have to present some little definition here that leading knowledge is a process of creation and use of knowledge based on previous experiences to improve the effectiveness of human endeavor. So knowledge is very key, whether we like it or yes, we are in the business of acquiring knowledge. And all of us, through experiences and what we do formally, are acquiring knowledge. So knowledge involves stimulating the creation, capture and collection and storage, as well as dissemination, understanding and implementation of tacit and explicit knowledge. I would define tacit and explicit knowledge as key elements of knowledge in a little while. It becomes very practicable and informed only when we situate the knowledge within the context of the environment, and in particular, the various generations are confronted with different sorts of knowledge. Now, tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge are two main elements of knowledge. And we know that tacit knowledge is difficult to encode and communicate explicitly. It is obtained through experience, through doing and learning. It occurs in the routine practices of individuals. Explicit knowledge is very observable. I mean, it is experience that we do formally, and that is easier to encode. Leading knowledge in a multi-generational situation, and that is very instructive. We cannot look at knowledge only in one set, because in societies, for societies to move, we work as a team of which we have different levels of generation. So in this group, in the AAOBA boys, if you look at the year groups, you can identify that we have different levels of generations and our experiences are different. During homecoming, you can see the behavior of the baby boomers and the Generation X when they sit under the pavilion very quiet and they are to themselves. Whereas you compare the millennials who are more sociable and moving around, sharing food better than the older generations. So the level of which they assimilate knowledge is entirely different. And therefore, for development and for assimilation of knowledge, we have to recognize these lifestyles and beliefs and attitudes and expectations. Otherwise, we'll meet the boat in trying to impact the knowledge the way it should be. And that's very critical for society. So how do we respond to the environment of multidimensional? Each group would have to work in concert and in a complex nexus to respond adequately and satisfactorily to the VUCA environment or the world. We need cooperation. We need to combine what needs to be done so that we'll have efficiency, without which society will fail, without which we will not be able to impact the knowledge gracefully as we should. So what is the response? In other words, how do we lead the knowledge in this VUCA world. There is a school of thought that creates another VUCA, and that VUCA brings the actions and the responses that need to be done as a counterbalance to the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So the slides begin to cancel out what the volatility is into what would emerge as a vision. The uncertainty becomes trying to understand the environment, and the complexity is resolved by taking measures that will lead to clarity of the situation. And ambiguity is countered by adaptability or agility. So this is a response that must happen in the VUCA world in order to attain efficiency and in order to share knowledge. Trying to lead knowledge in the VUCA world, we must exercise extreme vision. We must create a situation to understand the uncertainty. And we must create clarity to counter the complexity of the environment. And in ambiguity, we must adapt. I've just tried to summarize what the issues are in terms of volatility, what the drivers will be, what is the effect, and what the vision should take. This is just by way of summary. In terms of uncertainty, which is characterized by unpredictability, potential surprises, and unknown outcomes. And the effect is direction paralysis due to data overload. Today, we have a situation called big data. We have a lot of data that we are confronted with every day. Sifting through the data is very key to understanding the situation. So uncertainty would demand wider understanding from different perspectives. Complexity we have task correlation as the drivers, multifaceted effects and influences. We have multiple dimensions of variables happening at the same time that creates complexity. The response to it is to show clarity and show focus and flexibility as well as creativity. Now, ambiguity, I have identified that you have to adapt and be agile. You have to determine some level of decision making that is heavily loaded with innovation. Because if you don't exercise innovation in this period, you'll be left behind. Let me dive deep a little bit into the vision. And I say that it is a feature or the picture for the future. It acts as a compass for the orientation that we want to confront within the context of volatility. And understanding is another tool to combat the situation. So as we seek and lead knowledge, we have to seek in a manner that it creates very much understanding to the situation. We must understand the interconnections, some of which in a very transparent way, and to reflect in the general dimension of the generation gaps that we have. In this effort, we would harmonize the skills and explore the behaviors and reactions of everybody. So when I put a post of the reaction of the Bleoobi in terms of their lack of understanding of VUCA and the reaction, it is a recognition that no matter the views and diversity of situation, you must embrace the situation in order to move on to knowledge. Because if I sit there as Generation X person, and for which the influencers in our time, you don't talk back to your parents. In our time, you just take orders without asking questions. So I say that, what kind of comment is it? That is not fair. And it's an insult to me. That shouldn't be the reaction in this VUCA time. There must be clear understanding from the generation from which the person is coming from. It is only through that you are able to put up measures to motivate and provide an all-inclusive environment that would enlarge the knowledge that is required to move societies ahead. In terms of complexity, you have to reduce the complexity to clarity. The focus is to simplify the situation that everybody would understand. In a time of complexities, very clear, simple, and apt instructions in a very simple way can reveal things and make people more relaxed in terms of complexities. I mean, if you take your mind back and you're having to solve a very complex mathematical model, the way to do it is to have clarity and go step by step in small bits in order to solve that complex situation. I believe that is what we all did in a mathematics class. So creating clarity in the face of complexity is very key as a response to the VUCA world. The last is adaptability and the agility. And that provides for flexibility and critical thinking. That will facilitate innovation and build up resilience. Because you cannot combat ambiguity with the old ways of doing things. You have to change. You have to be flexible to the environment and be able to think outside the box and do things differently. So I've added on some specific visions that we can take in reaction. For each of the 4 variables that I've looked at, I've isolated some actions, and in order to actualize a vision to promote knowledge, we have to train the team to provide meaningful information rather than Yeah, should I run away?
No, sir. Apologies. Someone left their microphone open.
So, digital and artificial intelligence enabled world How do we organize the big data to further the vision that we envisage in terms of the knowledge that we have? Remember that data that is on process is meaningless and is not useful for anything. You cannot articulate your vision without clear communication. And communication has to be simple, short, because you need to communicate clearly in order to articulate your vision. To share your knowledge of your vision, the communication has to be clear, otherwise the whole thing will be defeated. So there are also actions relating to understanding. And you must get a fresh and innovative perspective in trying to understand the situation. We should always try new innovations to solve any challenge and check the possibility of all negative outcomes and solutions before trying these new ways. It is very important that in trying to understand the situation, we have to be innovative as well. And we need to challenge the appropriateness of conventional ways of solving any problem. I believe that the millennials generation are very good at this. Unlike our time, we may not have the latitude and the freedom to be doing things by ourselves. But thankfully, in your time, you can do many things than in our time. I have referred to red teaming as the devil's advocates. And I believe it always happens because those who play the devil challenge the situation. I believe that Adam, when challenged by the devil, did not respond appropriately. Otherwise, we would not be here. Probably would be in the wilderness, not working and having realization. So the devil actually challenges the order and makes you rethink about the situation in order to do right. So you need to create, for understanding, people who would deliberately challenge what the present order is. So we learn from people like that. We shouldn't see people doing that. And that is more or less a tacit knowledge, because from some experience and doing something that is not formal and hard, but they provoke the system for us to have insight. And we must exercise flexible thinking in order to understand things better. Clarity of actions as a response to VUCA is very collaborative, because we are not living in isolation. We cannot achieve the knowledge that we want to increase by ourselves. We need to collaborate and create inclusiveness to clarify issues. I've said previously that in understanding the issues, you need to challenge ourselves. You need to work with people to have different perspectives. In collaboration, roles and actions are clarified and communicated clearly to build on the knowledge. So clarity would multiply the skills and efforts of the entire team and make complex goals achievable. You have to clarify the situation so that you don't create a fixation of any solution. You must be flexible in your thinking so that at any point in time, you can move into a further stage of clarity. These are the issues that would add on to knowledge and build up the perspectives required to move society ahead. You need to impact knowledge. from generation to generation. I think the school anthem gives some background to generational learning. So we pass on the knowledge from generation to generation. I don't know what happened in your time, but in our time, if there was an Addo with a nickname and he moved out of the school, another Addo inherits a name. So kind of exemplifies the generational movement. But we need to replace ourselves because whether we like it or yes, we will die. And the challenge is that, have you impacted knowledge adequately such that if you are not there, people will continue with the knowledge? Now, if you impact knowledge, you build up confidence and challenge members. I believe that for you millennials that are working in your various establishments, the more knowledge you have, the more confidence you have. And I'm ending by saying that maybe the person stepping in your shoes can dump better in your shoes. So let's not be selfish. Selfishness is never a way to impact knowledge or to lead knowledge in this time. To adapt, you have to adopt. One of the actions that you need to take is to take on active listening. Many people don't understand what active listening is. You are an active listener when you always try to look at the situation from the perspective of who is talking. You first have to agree and see the merit of what the person is talking about before you can add your own. Usually when you listen to somebody very carefully, you are able to see the gaps that he or she has left, and you are able to add on to what has been said. So you cannot lead knowledge and create adaptability without listening to whoever you are dealing with. So you don't create your own friction by hearing just what you want to hear. You don't create the diversity of perspective that is very fulfilling in knowledge. Now, if you listen actively, you are open to divergent view, and you can really take out the new ideas that have come. Not only would you learn it yourself, but you also encourage that new idea that has been put up. If you don't listen actively, you cannot do that. In this action of adaptability, you need to recognize the little milestone and benefits and dividends that have been recorded. We must celebrate the successes when we are listening. It is important, especially in this ambiguous environment. In fact, most millennials want to be recognized because they are interested in achievements. So they need to be told in bits what they are doing right. Sometimes I've had my team, I've had this practical experience in my team. They don't find me too much praising them because I'm more focused on the results. So I normally tell them that, look, if there's a marathon race, you can have 10,000 participating in it, but gold, silver, and bronze are recognized. But the feedback that I get from the team is that, well, you still have to recognize the little that we have done. And that is the incremental dividends that people of your generation want. So we must share the small gains with the generation in order that they will be motivated to build on the knowledge that is required for further achievement. And that is very important. By and large, I think that I've tried to lead knowledge in this VUCA environment. And I want to summarize and conclude by saying that it requires collaboration and inclusiveness to capture all the generational cohorts. And this will create faith, trust, and motivation. If we apply the various actions that I've enumerated in terms of vision, understanding, clarity, and adaptability, I'm very confident that we'll have a very good knowledge, lead the knowledge, and share it in the VUCA environment. Environment that is full of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Dr. Daniel Addo, Bleoobi Dr. Daniel Addo. I believe everyone on this call will agree that this has been really very insightful. We did circulate one meaning of VUCA, which is volatility, uncertainty, what's that? See, somebody help me, and ambiguity. But now we have found another
complexity.
meaning for VUCA. Complexity, thank you very much, and ambiguity. Now we have found another meaning for VUCA. So VUCA turns out to be a double-edged sword. On the one side, it talks about all the negative things. On the other side, it talks about all the positive things. So at this point, I want to open the forum for questions, comments, anything you want to understand. Please raise your hand. Use the raise hand app in Zoom to raise your hand so that we can do this properly. So let's start with Abbas. Can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Addo. It's been a great presentation and very insightful as well. I want to ask you on your view, the VUCA you've just taught us or lectured us on. If you should relate this to AAOBA and how things are running in AAOBA, there has been a lot of talk about how there's a wide gap between the older and the younger generation AAOBA, which seems to be one of our biggest problems in galvanizing everyone on board. What in your view would you say is a problem with AAOBA if you should look put it in the context of this VUCA?
Thank you, Abbas.
Yeah, Doc, please go on.
Sometimes within the AAOBA, I think that we in the older generation should begin to appreciate the style in which people want things to happen. Because on the platform, you will see some comments that is very characteristic of the millennials. The result and how they want things to happen. But in many cases, the older generations see this as an offense. And you should also understand from this lecture that the things that influence theirs are different from yours. Today, when I take my kids and I'm going out, my daughter can ask me, Daddy, where are you going? In our time, who bond up? you just cannot say anything. So I'm talking about diversity and inclusiveness. It behoves on both sides the different cohorts of generations to anticipate and be able to strategize in a manner that when you are putting forth a question or the demand, you should be mindful of the different generations and how we understand things. So in AAOBA, we must exercise some deep understanding. And we all have to exercise some flexibility in terms of achieving the vision for which we want. So if we apply the VUCA in the positive way as I've outlined, I think that AAOBA will move much more progressively than we are having. We would increase the knowledge. We will have the idea that today, most of you Abbasis and Yaos will be the next leaders of AAOBA. And by the time you become a leader, the Generation Z will also come and may not understand you. So we need to operate in this manner. We must recognize the diversity and differences in generation and our understanding of the issue. Let's be clear on what we want in a manner that does not create friction. And I believe that if the older generations are listening, we'll begin to be open to the suggestions. For instance, when I shared with Yao in terms of the comments from Bleoobi in terms of suggesting, you see, he suggested a different topic against what I had said. This is not shouldn't be offensive because he's creating some diversity that if I had presented a topic in that manner, maybe people will understand it better. He also said that it would, because they don't understand, they are put off and they may not participate. So we must recognize these differences and try to do things in a manner that will create all inclusiveness.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. I want to read a few comments that have come on the chat. So there's a question from Raphael, and he says, "Would you agree, sir, that networking will be a key element in the VUCA world?" A few other comments have come in. It's a great presentation. A lot of people have expressed interest in the presentation. So Dr. Addo, you will need to consider that. And then one more comment, well done and thank you very much. We surely can build our school and Bleoobi community through collaborative knowledge acquisition and use. Great presentation, Doc. Please, can you share that with us? So please comment on the networking bit. Raphael wants to know, would you consider that networking will be a crucial part of VUCA?
Very important because it solves the problem of ambiguity. I kept on emphasizing collaboration. I kept on emphasizing understanding. And within networking, you can achieve this. You are networking to have a certain leverage. So different people bring various ideas to the table and you enlarge knowledge. So it's very simple. Networking is a very key ingredient to success in the VUCA world because it will inform you about things that are happening. It will inform you of divergent views. In networking, you can have the red team, who is the devil, and can challenge your thinking. So amongst your group, you don't want to just network with somebody of your like. So AAOBA itself gives a combination of different people from different sectors. So I believe that today, as a result of this lecture, I may have some people calling me direct on financial issues or economic issues. This is the beginning. We are beginning to intensify the networking by having a new face that you can have trust and you can have faith in. So yes, networking is very key.
Thank you very much, Doc. Let's go to Elijah. Jack, Elijah, please unmute your mic and ask your question. Hello, Jack. Okay. If we're not hearing from Jack, let's go to, okay, Jack is on now. Yes, let's hear you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
I'm here.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Hello?
Hello, Jack, can you hear us? Jack, your network is...
I really have some...
Okay, Jack, can you please check your network? We'll come back to you, if that's okay. And let's...
Yeah.
Yes,
Alternatively, people who have challenges with their network can also type in the questions in the chat room so you can read them.
Okay, all right. So Jack, if you can hear us, I think it will be best for you to just type the questions and we'll read it out for you. Let's go to Albert, Albert Quarte. Okay. Albert, we can't hear you. So let me take the next person is Galaxy J6. I'm not sure who this person is, but can you please share your thoughts?
Hello. Anani, am I online? Is this Bota?
Yes, Bota, you are online.
All right.
Please share your thoughts.
All right. Thank you, Doc. You mentioned about passing knowledge to the next generation. I want to know, how then do we extend this to the world of professionalism in terms of what people are doing and how they can pass it on to the next next academicians or people of other generations? But in this case, I want us to limit it to fellow Bleoobies. Thank you.
Okay, let's take one more and then we can have Doc respond to it. So Samuel in Kansas, please, can we hear you?
A very short one. My question is, Doc identified the level of interaction that takes place between the very old Bleoobi and the young ones. I want to find out from him what plans or what we can do so that at such functions there is better collaboration, so that we don't find the very old ones sitting in their corner and the millennials also sitting in their corner, and then there's that gap, and sometimes it worries me.
Okay, thank you very much. So Doc, how do we bridge the gap and how do we translate VUCA into the professional world?
I think one of the ways is this novel idea that you guys have started to have this interaction in Zoom. Otherwise, I'll be sitting in my house without interaction. The idea that we are communicating via this media is also one step. Now, clearly, if we create the understanding that is required, we'll be able to have this interaction. Now, from this expose, and in Kansas, you would realize that I'm trying to make the millennials who are dominant in the group to understand the influences of the older generations. So the older generations may not proactively come into interaction with the younger generations. Now, because of the experience of the younger generations, they can now proactively invite the older generations and ask questions. So it's like, because of what has influenced them, they are shy, or the intimidation during our time does not encourage us to be upfront. Whereas today, more people are upfront than in our time. Abbas works with me. Abbas comes to my office and gives me very thought-provoking questions. He puts me on my toes and I address them. Within the context of the old boyism, I think we should all realize that in diversity we will succeed. And that we can only do that if we deepen the interactions that we have. In terms of professionalism, I want to take it from two perspectives. Professionalism at the job site, where if I have a Bleoobi, I should be able to mentor, not necessarily in the profession that I am, but to have certain models and rule of thumb that will help people succeed in various establishments. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a medical doctor, it doesn't matter if you're an economist. You have to set in a certain rudiment of attitude. And that we can share within the old boys, from older generation to younger generation. So at the west side, I'm likely to be more sympathetic to a Bleoobi, and hearing that I'm Bleoobi breaks barriers in coming to my office to ask questions and to speak on my knowledge. Now, outside the office, where I will not have a Bleoobi there coming to me, networking is important to foster the learning and transfer of knowledge process that we are talking about now. I think I've answered the question.
Yes, thank you, Doc. We've got quite a number coming up. I have 2 hands up, but I will read a few comments and questions, and then I will call those whose hands are up. So, great presentation, Addo. Hope this recording will be made available on all the platforms. Yes, it will be. Let them. Okay. I was saying that, how do I communicate my vision clearly to people who have seen it all and done it all, like Doc? They are sometimes hard to impress. So this is what Jack Elijah was trying to say. So this one is a direct one for you, Doc. The next one is networking is important. Through networking, we build what we call social capital. Social capital expands one's capacity to overcome challenges and take advantage of opportunities. A good network extends your knowledge in many ways. Okay, so that's a good point. So Doc, that one question is, how does a millennial communicate their vision clearly to your generation, people who have seen it all and done it all? Sometimes your generation is quite difficult or quite hard to impress. Let's go and take a comment from Norman Edu, and then we'll take Raymond Tete. So Norman Edu, please unmute yourself. And
yeah, hello. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we hear you, sir.
Very clear.
Okay, great. Okay, so Doc, very pleased to be a participant, and I would say big congratulations. And I think mine is more of some take-home and learnings, and as well a question I want to ask. I think I want to comment on leadership in this VUCA world as far as learning is concerned. The main take-home for me, for which I coin as learning agility is that leading through ambiguity requires agility, necessitating more risk-taking and connections with new knowledge. So in this presentation, I remember Doc accentuating on the fact in summary that in today's complex world, it's not possible for one to have all the answers. Instead, leaders must collate ideas, knowledge, and experiences from a wide set of experiences to lead effectively in this 21st century. So, Doc, for me, I want you to comment on learning agility, looking at how complex and how absurd, this era is, and as far as 21st century, knowledge is almost everywhere. You can fetch for knowledge on the YouTube, on all social media, and all of that. So, what actually makes one so idiosyncratic in terms of knowledge acquisition? Because it seems like almost everything, I mean, you can even sit at home and then even become a professor, so
Okay.
it's more like there should be something very uniquely that we are supposed to tap into that will make our learnings more different from the rest.
I'm
So
sure Doc will be able to give you some info on that.
What would be one of the key components that we can leverage on?
Okay, thank you for your question. Raymond, let's hear you, and then we can have Doc come over. Hello, Raymond Tete. Please unmute yourself.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Regards, Adobes. Good old days.
Thank you, sir.
Now, you said something about stakeholders needing to know small gains over a term duration,
Yes.
And you said that setting and achieving incremental dividends is a great thing.
Yes.
Looking at Accra Academy generally, for a very long time, we don't have bragging rights because we've not won this competition, for schools. And it's something that, anytime we go into any argument, we are shut down more or less. Now, we stakeholders, we have not gained this. We have not done this thing. How best do you think we can go about it? Setting an incremental dividend for a cracker so that we will achieve it in the immediate future. Because it's the only thing that more or less prevents us from actually lifting our shoulders. Although we've done it all, we have all the men, we've achieved whatever you can say a school can achieve over the time of, let's say, 50 years that we've been part of the school. What can we do? How best do you think we can get there within the shortest possible time? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Doc, I did say two hands, but let me take a third one from Albert Corte, and then you can bundle all of that together. Hi, Albert.
Yeah. Good evening, Doc, and good evening, fellow Bleoobi. Doc, congratulations. It has been a while. I've not come to your office in recent times.
Yes, Albert.
Yes, senior. Having been able to identify the dynamism between the older generation and the younger generation, don't you think it would be appropriate for the older generation to mentor, guide the younger generation for them to aspire into new heights in this VUCA world that we find ourselves in? Sorry, my line was not connecting properly, so it's possible that you might have addressed this or one way or the other. I'm not too sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Albert. So, Doc, over to you, sir.
Okay, Albert, I will take yours first. Albert, I think I mentioned in my presentation that we need to replace ourselves in this knowledge acquisition or leading knowledge, because it's when we begin to share that kind of knowledge that will multiply the skills and create critical mass for success. So clearly, some form of mentoring is required. Now, in terms of this mentoring, I'll relate it to the first questioner and saying that sometimes there is a gap. How do you approach a senior with so much pedigree without being intimidated? How clear can you be? I think I've also addressed that issue in terms of the fact that one of the ways to actions that needs to be taken, and very key, is active listening. If we practice active listening the way it should be, you will see that you'll be clear. The active listener tries to understand the perspective from which whoever is talking is coming from, not from his own perspective. You have to dissolve yourself when you are listening to somebody actively, because what you do in that process is to ask leading questions to make you understand. So the person doesn't come. As soon as he starts a conversation, you bring forth your idea and try to stop him. You have to listen to him to the fullest. Okay, he begins to talk about his experience. So what happened? And when you took this action, what happened? And next, and next, and next. You will see that you would have gotten a lot of information that you need, for which you can present a challenge to whoever you are dealing with, or to add on to what he has done. Now, in the process, if you find out that there has been errors and failures, you are well positioned to comment on it, rather than not listening to the person and asking leading questions. So the guy who is thinking that, how do you come to me? Of course, when you come to me, I'll listen to you. And the first step that I need to do is to create trust and faith in me. And that you can do by engaging actively with the person that is talking to you. In terms of agility, I've indicated that we don't have to be fixed in our options. Solutions are not permanent, because today you can come out with a solution, a new condition will happen. I mean, what happened to Kodak? Mobile phones, I mean, the film situation that we used to develop pictures and things, they didn't take it serious. And where are they today? So we shouldn't be fixed in our mind. The interaction and networking gives us a diversity that would progress into innovation and new ways of doing things, unless we are not prepared to grow. Raymond, the situation that you mentioned calls for a review. We need to review what has gone wrong, why we are not winning the competitions that we should be winning. Do we have the people? If we do, what steps do we need to take to ensure that within a year or two, we'll be there? I think we've tried so many things, trying to calm them, motivate them in various ways. The question is that what we are doing, is it motivational enough? Is it that we are so bad, or the competition is too much for us? We have to find a much more flexible way of doing this thing. And it comes from reviewing the situation that has happened and creating the vision that we want. Do the participants understand our vision that we need to win some of these competitions so that we can also brag? And if that's a situation, what can we do to motivate them? What are the experiences that we can hang on to motivate them? Remember that we can only grow on what the person has and not from without. So we have to look at within the participants and assess their weaknesses and their strengths, and make sure that we downplay their weaknesses and amplify the strengths so that they will be able to succeed. Have I answered all the questions?
Yes, you have. So we have a hand up. Let's go all the way to the US and talk to Morrison. Oh, Morris.
All right, good evening, everybody. Great conversation, Doc. My take from your topic today will be active listening. My question is, it's going to be like personal, because when I get the opportunity to talk to great men like you with great CVs, I want to learn just one mistake that they made in their life that cost them so much that anytime they think about that mistake, they don't want to repeat it. And if you feel comfortable, you want to share that mistake for the younger generation so we can learn something from it. That way we don't have to go through try and errors in life. That would be great. That is my question. What is the greatest mistake you've ever made in your life? And if you want to share with us, I'm ready to listen. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So, Doc, what's the one mistake that you made that you want us to learn from?
One mistake I made, the issue for me is that within every mistake is an opportunity. I think that, I don't know, in cancer is in the group, Rainbow. I mean, in cancer is my mate, actually. And in cancer, this science. I'm not sure whether I made a mistake in doing business. Because looking back, in my business class, I didn't have competition. Everything I did, I was first. Maybe if I listened to a talk on to do science, maybe I could be a better person. I don't know whether that is a mistake, but at that time, I don't know the issues that confronted me. I decided to do.
You are better off than the business, but
you there?
Don't come there.
Come again.
Come to the science field. You are better off where you are.
So,
okay.
Baby.
No, Doc. So this is Yao. I actually wanted to, if you like, rephrase that question, because don't limit it only to your time in Accra Academy, but we're trying to look at, even in your rise to where you are now, what one mistake have you made that gave you some very valuable lesson that you would want us, the younger generation, to actually avoid?
Okay, the mistake that I must have made, being strategic in my understanding, you know, once again, I started off very confident young man, and I more or less tried to show that confidence that in some cases could be annoying to my bosses and generations. Probably if I had taken a different strategy, I could have been more successful in linking or making them understand where I'm coming from. I think today I'm better in negotiating what ought to be to the benefit of the organization than it used to be. Let me share this example of when I did national service. And I always say that the chief director asked me to respond to a letter, and when I did the response and gave it to her, she asked me to go back to the file and copy what has been written, because that is what she wanted. I sat in front of her and said that I have read the letter, but I think that my response addresses the better than what I saw on the file. Now, it's all in furtherance to the fact that I felt that I've been to the university and I should add some value. Now, here is a small boy, 25-year-old boy doing service. And looking at the pedigree and the experience of the chief director, telling her that no, I wasn't prepared to copy what was on the file. I'm prepared to share my knowledge. It worked though, but I think that it could have been very disastrous in terms of the generation, so that forthrightness and confidence could be a career limiting situation. In my case, for some reason, she looked at my letter again, read it again, and looked at my face and said, good to go. But the situation created, it's a double-edged sword. It created a certain level of confidence and respect from day one. But I'm saying that this forthrightness could have ended the situation, because if she didn't agree, remember that she has a lot of power to determine where I move next in my career in the organization. So there is a need to balance off those things as we work. Sometimes you're right, but strategically, it's not advisable to state the point the way you are stating. You will have the opportunity to do that at a later time. So we need to assess the situation, and it goes on to prove the point that I'm saying, that be flexible, be innovative in the situation that you are, because there's no one correct situation. There are various. So you take one option that is also relevant in the position that you find yourself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So, I mean, this really brings home the need for mentorship, because a lot of people would not know this except they get the opportunity to learn. Let's go to Richmond, and then we'll take Raphael and continue the discussion. Richmond, please unmute your mic.
Okay. Hi, good evening to everyone, and thank you, Doc, for your insightful presentation. My question is trying to harness the strengths of both Generation X and then the millennials. So as someone who's a millennial myself, I'm looking at the characteristics and I realize that it looks as if a lot, and which seems to be a lot of the millennials, on the average, looking at the characteristics, it comes across as we are fast, we're always on the go, a bit as if to suggest that we are more like reckless and more of risk takers. Generation X, however, come across as people who are a bit more careful, cautious, pragmatic. And so I'm looking at these two, and I think that even though you can't be confident and you can't be highly educated and you are hotly competitive, to a large degree, that can be your downfall, or that can be career limiting in some aspects. So as a millennial, how do I harness the pragmatism and then the other aspects of Generation X to blend and then make me more presentable, or more competitive? Someone with a competitive edge within this VUCA industry, VUCA world.
Okay, thank you. Let's take Raphael.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add to the question that was asked to talk about the experience that he's had about kind of making a decision. I just wanted to contribute to that. I think Doc has done an excellent job on that. Personally, I got to a point in my career as an educator where I rose to the level of head of department, but then I was faced with quite a lot of challenges And I felt that probably it's time for me to resign and pursue another path. And it took me out of my career. But then after a while, I realized that probably what I should have done was to learn from that situation. And as Doc was saying, you might need to step back a little bit, evaluate what the challenges are, listen very carefully, assess your weaknesses, and then probably, if need be, pursue some professional developments to kind of re-equip yourself to be able to cope with it, not necessarily walking away from whatever challenges that you are faced with. So I really thank God for giving us that kind of input there. All right, thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Raphael. Let's go to Lucas Chigabatia. Hello, Lucas. You may need to unmute yourself. Okay. Well, I think we lost Lucas there. So, Doc, over to you. I think you can answer the only question that came up.
I think that thank you, Raphael, for your contribution, which buttresses the point that I was making. Richmond, I need to, and I would want to use an example of our own because that I have lived it and I've understood it. In terms of the strengths and the character of the millennials and what they have, you have to study the environment. I know that one thing that is typical of the millennials is now, unlike our time, where we used to work with slave drivers, I mean, I have stayed in the office overnight, 2 days in the office. Lucas, who wanted to ask a question, can remember, we used to sleep in the office. Millennials will not do that because they have to go and chill. They need to work and chill at the same time. But let me see somebody like Abbas who I've worked with. And I don't know whether the colleagues here will know, Abbas has had a very fast progression on his job. I know that Abbas studies psychology, but the knowledge that he amassed on the job from national service to when he was employed was enormous. He moved from psychology to understanding economic issues. And the thing that I noticed about Abbas is that even when he is driving home, he has his computer. When he gets a call, he can stop to work where he is. So the work-life balance that a typical millennial would do and say that, let me forget about it, let me just chill and come back, sometimes can be a problem. Because depending on the position that you are and the demands on you, you have to adapt and be innovative. So, Richmond, you can capitalize on the situation based on certain strengths that the millennials have. You're well educated, your analytic power and level of research and looking for information is higher than some of us because we are not technology savvy as you are. Your research on the internet could be higher than mine. So you must be able to leverage on that so that you can do the work faster and quicker. So as it where you can have your fun, which is part of the characteristics that you are. Characteristics that you have. I don't know that Richmond, if you are hearing me, have I made justice to the question that you said?
Yes, partially. So I'd like to know, the other strengths of Generation X, which seems to be a bit more cautious, a bit more pragmatic in their approach to things. How do I, capitalize, or how do I harness that and, infuse that into my default characteristics of a millennial?
Well, Generation X is a pragmatist. They want to be practical. They as well think globally, which is close to the millennial. So you can harness that potential in them in terms of their openness and thinking and the pragmatism that they have. So you see that you have a weakness of wanting everything quick, especially the fun parts. So you may get the judgment wrong where pragmatically you shouldn't have fun, but you think you should have fun. I mean, most of you millennials want to take leave and travel to London, America, Dubai, or something to have fun. You may have a situation where it's not possible. For instance, I didn't have a honeymoon when I got married because at that time, the job environment did not allow me to leave immediately after my wedding. That is pragmatism. It shouldn't be that I need and I'm entitled to honeymoon with my wife. We can have another honeymoon, even though she has never forgiven me for that. But I think that looking back, it probably was a good decision.
That is if she agrees. So, well, it's getting a lot more interesting. Let me take a few comments on the text, and then I'll come to a question I want to ask you. So, Stanley Boche says to do well and share the presentation. So, Stanley, I will do my best. If Doc shares it with me, I'll share with everybody. And then Lucas Chigabata comments, organizational behavior is important. One needs to understand the culture of the organization. And then she says, we must also understand that it is not possible to motivate someone who is not self-motivated. That self-motivation comes from having clarity of where one wants to be, the drive to achieve their aspiration. So, Doc, we've talked a lot about, all these generational gap and how to bridge it. I just wanted to give you a minute to tell us how. I know you have mentored Abbas pretty well. He's just one example, but if you can walk us through how you, in your personal capacity, have been able to mentor a few more people, and how you are affecting your own generation to pay it forward, to also mentor the younger generation, because a lot of the things you're talking about, you learned from experience, right? I guess it will be a lot easier for you to hand it over, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. The thing is that the mentor and the mentee, there must be an environment for them to meet. Sometimes, like I don't know what Lucas was saying, that the person has to be self-motivating. But if we look at self-motivating by itself, then it means that those who don't have self-motivation cannot be helped or cannot go. But there are two sides of it. There are two sets of people with internal locus of control and people with external locus of control. What I'm trying to drive at is that there must be the environment for a mentor and a mentee to meet. Throughout my experience where I've met genius, I give the experience because I'm very direct and very provocative. In fact, some of my genius, one listener said, coming to you with your experience and pedigree sometimes is intimidating. But when you come to me and we go through the drills, you will see that it is very ordinary, and it becomes a situation where one begins to clarify the situation to your understanding. You begin to appreciate and go in it. But the first step has to be taken by the mentee, because you should know that you are sick, and then you go to the doctor, and you will drink the medicine. The doctor will not drink the medicine to you, even if he prescribes. That the internal locus of control then becomes necessary, because you will be yearning for information, you'll be yearning for knowledge, and then the mentor will get that signal and begin to feed you and feed you appropriately. So the mentee should also be proactive. So when you engage the mentor, who will then embark on actively listening to you to know exactly what the issues are, and for him to make informed judgment on how to proceed in helping you progress in whichever capacity that you are. I think that it's very important that the mentee makes a very important step and accept that he is willing to learn and to grow. Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one. So we have just a few more minutes to wrap up. Any more questions? Any more comments? I'll take 2 more and then we can wrap up. It's been an awesome discussion so far. All right. So in the absence of any questions and comments, for those of you who commented in the chat box requesting the presentation doc, your listeners have been so well pleased with your presentation, and we believe that we will benefit from it. So if you would gracefully share it, we'll be glad. I want to thank you on behalf of AAOBA for spending time with us this evening. Indeed, the subjects that you discussed was really very insightful, and I'll read someone's comment to that effect. He says, "Great presentation, Dr. Addo. VUCA. Been hearing the word bandied about at strategy sessions, but you have broken it down to everyday life. Good job." So some people may have heard it before and really haven't had a good understanding. You've done justice to that. So thank you once again on behalf of AAOBA. Now, this is a general announcement. So for Bleoobi in the UK, on Sunday, which is Sunday, I think the 19th, there will be the Founders Day service. And so I haven't been contracted, but I am aware about this, and I just wanted to notify all of you Bleoobi in the UK. Let's get together and let's build a strong community. Now, in respect of efforts to grow the association, I think that we all need to get on board. This is an initiative that we hope to sustain, but we can only sustain it with your participation. And so I'm using this platform to appeal to each one of us. If you want to discuss a topic, if you are a subject matter expert and you would like to do a presentation and lead a discussion, please reach out to myself or reach out to Abbas or reach out to Albert Squatty. Any one of us will be able to schedule you. We want to build a schedule to the end of the year so that we can have a more regular pattern to this discussion. Having said that, I want to thank you all very much for joining this discussion one more time. And I hope that we've taken away a very good lesson. If you forget anything at all, don't forget the other definition of VUCA, which is vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. Vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. And these.
Yeah. Before we sign out, just a minute. Let me quickly chip in something, right?
Okay, Albert. Go ahead.
Come tomorrow. Our school is going to be 98, 89 years old. Actually, Akaka was founded on 20th July 1931. So Akaka will be officially 89 come tomorrow. Then, Doc, there's a passionate appeal. This series has come to stay. And like you rightly said, we need the cream de la cream just to make the series very participatory and very enjoying. So we'll be knocking on the doors of Alex Mood and Amate Vondi, who are experts in their respective field. But knowing them very well, being your mates, we'll play with you if you can talk to them before we knock on their doors.
Okay. I will do that.
Thank you so much.
I suggested that we should talk about pension, but Abba said you people are too young to think about pension. Your pension should start from now.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Absolutely.
right. Probably Amate Vondi will handle that aspect.
Yes. Okay. So when is the next meeting and who do you want? You want Alex to be on?
Yes, we'll be
either
Alex
for
the next one.
Or Amate Vondi.
Amate Vondi for the next as well.
Okay. I'll be meeting Alex on Sunday, so we can discuss something.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
So just by way of statistics, we started off with about 12 people joining as early as 6:30, and we peaked to 86 participants, and we're closing off with 68 participants. It's been a great evening, no doubt about that. Very insightful discussion, and I want to thank all of you sincerely for making time. Please do make time with us for the next edition. The circulars will come out hopefully before the end of the week next week. The circulars will come out, and then you will know the date, and the venue is still here on Zoom. Please spread the word in your respective year groups, and let's encourage participation. This is knowledge that we are not paying for, and this is another way to bridge that generational gap. So we do appreciate your presence, and I want to say a very good evening to all of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Yao.
All right. Good night to everybody. All right.
Good night.
Good night. Night.
Good night.